Welcome to the first episode of the Krypton Report for Season 2 of Supergirl, Episode 1, The Adventures of Supergirl, directed by the legendary Glenn Winter. Now, Jania.
Yes, Tyler?
I'm glad that you're here with me.
Me too.
Glenn Winter started out as cinematographer and then went on to being a director in Smallville. And then he's directed Arrow, Flash. I think he's done Legends now, and Supergirl. He also directed the Supergirl pilot. So it's really cool to see him just continue on and getting his second chance at directing The Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me bust out my handy-dandy notebook. All right. What?
That was a Blue's Clues reference for all those parents out there.
Yeah, we've entered that realm of horror with Solomon. The songs will never leave you. In your most troubled times, they'll be there. But, anyways, back to the super. Oh my gosh. Okay, first of all, before we talk about the episode, what was your reaction when you first saw that trailer for Season 2?
I'm very excited about it because I have been, honestly, a little unsure of what to think of Tyler, this entire time. When they said that he was going to be Superman, I was like, oh, really? That guy, I mean, I can kind of see it, but I always pegged him for more of a Bruce Wayne, So, I don't know. At first, I was very skeptical, but then watching the trailer, it just got me more and more excited to see what could be, I'm always optimistic when it comes to these shows and everything like that. I try to give them a chance. But, like I said, at first it was just like, I just didn't know if he could pull it off, to be honest. But the trailer was really impressive, too. So
I had goosebumps the entire time. Especially when he did the shirt rip. Oh, man. I was like, yeah, that's exactly how it was. I couldn't speak. I was like, let's watch that again, Solo.
That's like the number one iconic thing that you look for in every Superman film or feature or episode. That's like your number one thing.
Yeah.
No, well, close to number one.
Somebody doesn't understand that, Zack Snyder. I like your work. I'm not bashing you, I'm just saying. You tease me with Clark grabbing his tie and then cut to him bringing the girl down from the burning building in Day of the Dead. No save, no shirt rip, just aftermath.
Yep, true story.
But that'll be a whole nother discussion that we'll have later. So, let's get into this. Season 2, Episode 1, The Adventures of Supergirl. First of all, hey, we're on the CW.
Yeah. Still
on Monday nights. We got the CW bringing home all the heroes.
So right off the bat, I can tell you that, I didn't feel a different vibe. It still felt like Supergirl. It wasn't like they completely changed it or, it still felt like the same show. Which, moving from network to network can be a little scary sometimes, I
mean, thinking about shows that have jump networks, it's weird. I mean, like, I can't remember the exact times here, but I know that, like, Scrubs did an extra season, like, on ABC when it left NBC.
Mm-hmm.
And then Buffy went from being on the WB to being on UPN. And that was before they formed the CW.
Yeah.
So that was kind of weird, but it still felt like the same show, basically. So, I mean, this is just going strong in that same vein of continuing to be a strong show and just being the show that it is. And I will say, right off the bat, the effects still look really good. I mean,
yes.
We had Superman and Supergirl. I didn't really feel a decline in effects and in anything in that area. So I think they know what they're doing. And you know what I did like, though? New title card. I was like, this is cool. I like it because it's just enough different to let you know that there is some sort of a change.
What was the difference? I can't remember the old one.
The old one's a brighter blue and shinier red symbol. The way it flashes and says Supergirl. This one has a darker blue, more like the color and texture of her suit. It's bigger, more centric. And of course, you know that one thing I always loved about Supernatural, the TV show, was every season they would change the opening title card so that you had an idea of what season you were in.
Yeah. And
then Arrow, some people say they did it in Arrow season 2, but I don't really see it. But we know for sure they did it in season 3 because they did the weird symbol. And then in season 4, they changed it to just a very bright green arrow tip with the arrow.
But it sounds like to me they made the title card more CW.
Yeah.
You know, to be honest, because all of the colors, if you look at the other shows in CW, you know, you've got, you know, the Flash. The Flash has, you know, a darker red. It's not a super bright in your face red. You know, and then Arrow, even with his green being a little bit brighter, it's still, you know, a muted green.
There's a cinematography element that the CW has compared to when you watch something like on CBS. Like even other CBS shows, there's just a certain colorization that they have.
Yeah.
From a production point of view, I mean, if you watch Supergirl, then you watched like NCIS or something like that, you can see. Maybe that's what happens when you film in Canada. I don't know. But I mean, what's interesting about this is this season picks up, as they state, about 12 hours after where season 1 ended.
Yeah.
So it's not like in Flash, when it started this season, it said 3 months ago. Arrow talks about being months ago.
Right.
And stuff like that. Like this is just, here we go. Just hop, skip, and a beat away.
Right.
So I mean, that was
We're
different.
also not a part of the Flashpoint situation.
Which brings us to something that's heartbreaking, but I get it. Right now, they said they are not going to merge Supergirl into the Flash universe, the Flareoverse. And you know what? At first I was like, dang, but then I thought, since they told us what the crossover is going to be an alien invasion, what if the season finale in somewhere is what ends up being Crisis?
Okay.
And Supergirl actually gets pulled into the same universe at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So that next season it picks up with her in the universe.
That would make a lot more sense. You don't want too much going on in the Flash and Arrowverse right now. You know, because what you have going on is Flashpoint. You know, and that's a pretty big pill to swallow at this point, you know, for them. So you don't want to add too much more onto that storyline.
Now, Barry's a...
Okay, different podcast. Let's continue on with Supergirl, guys.
How awesome was it to see Wynn sitting there working at the DEO? Well, I guess he wasn't working yet. He was helping out, but we get confirmation at the end of the episode that he is now working for the DEO.
It's pretty great.
In their new headquarters.
Wynn was obviously... His talents and everything were totally being squashed working for Catco. You know, so him going to the DEO makes complete and total sense because the guy's a freaking genius.
Yes. You know? And I mean, if Kara, like we know from the end of season 1 that her job is changing, we want to keep her working with Wynn in more capacity, he's going to have to change as well.
See, the superhero always needs the tech person, you know, and Wynn is her go-to. He's super smart.
I'm just waiting for my favorite episode where it's just Ray, Felicity, Cisco, and Wynn sitting around talking and geeking out with each other.
Yeah.
They could do a whole episode of just them in a room talking.
Yep. I would watch it. For sure. Alright. So what else about Supergirl, Tyler?
Well, one thing that our good friend Mr. Phil Parrish noticed that I don't know, I need to go back and watch season 1 again.
Who's Phil Parrish, Tyler, again? He's a host on what podcasts?
anything with DC but this show.
Yeah, Phil.
Phil, the voice of DC on Southgate Media. But if you notice on the TV, and I noticed it when we were watching it, but like I said, I need to go back and watch season 1 to see if that's too. But the news channel is channel 25.
Okay.
Compared to on Flash and Arrow, it's always channel 52.
Oh, cool.
So it's being a different Earth and universe. So that's something that was just kind of a nice little. Oh, I see what you did there.
Yep.
Now, when we're in Cat Code, did you get chills or laugh when Cat yelled for Miss Tessmacher?
Oh, I loved it. I laughed.
She even did it like Gene Hackman.
Yes,
Miss Tessmacher.
Yeah, it was great.
And was it also nice to see Miss Tessmacher come out not half naked?
Yes. Yeah. She was dressed appropriately for once.
No, one thing was interesting. There was no mention at all of Maxwell Lord.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, think about this. This is 12 hours later. Nothing like Max is leaving. Max is retiring. Like, nothing. He just gone. So that's been one thing I felt out with this episode of the difference from the Switch was not even a mention of Maxwell Lord.
Yeah.
But we do get a new billionaire person.
Yes. Miss Lena Luthor.
Lena Luthor. Jania had fun with this, trying to remember all the LLs.
Lena, Lois, Lana,
Lucy.
Lucy, yes. Gosh.
If we want to get Smallville in here, we got Lucas, Lionel, Lachlan.
Yep. Lex, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. Lutessa.
Yeah.
And then, Lillian. And then, do they ever say Lana's parents? Yeah, they do, but I can't remember right now. But anyways.
A lot of L's.
La 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 la. So we got Lena, and it's interesting because she even says, like, she's adopted.
Yeah.
So that's really cool as a character point of view, because, not to always call back to Smallville, but they always talk about Luthor blood, and Luthor being poisoned. Well, this is kind of the nature versus nurture look at, she was raised in the Luthors, but she's not a Luthor by blood. Like, what differences does she have? And so far, by this episode, she's not villainous.
Right, and she's totally trying to prove herself right now. She's trying to prove herself to the community, and she seems to be trying to prove herself, to the media as well, that she's not really a Luthor, as in the way of that we see Lex Luthor.
We get a callback to Lex a couple times. He's in prison. We also get, I don't know if you picked up on this the first time, but when Lena gets in the helicopter, she says, I know statistically speaking it's the safest way to travel, which is straight from Superman the movie and then called back to in Superman Returns. And I like the idea that she wants to change the company to L-Corp to drop the Luthor.
Right.
And I think that was really a neat play, because, I mean, if you look at in Smallville, he changed it to LexCorp, and in most forms of Superman mythology, it is LexCorp.
Yeah.
But there was Luthor Corp, and now she's changing it to L-Corp.
Right.
So that's pretty awesome, just for something different. Now, we're getting to the big part here, and I'm holding off on it. Did you notice that a lot of people wear jackets now in National City?
No, I didn't notice that.
Canada. But I did think at the end, I thought it was interesting how Kat was talking about, because we know that Calista Flockhart's not going to be on this series full time.
Right.
And the way that they ended the episode with her saying to Kara about maybe it's time to take the plunge, that to me is how they're going to bring in Snapper Carr as the reporter that we had discussed before. Mm-hmm. And one other thing we didn't discuss is at the beginning.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's backtrack a little bit here.
I know, it's just so much cool stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting things in this episode, for sure.
The craft that crashes has a person in it that it's deduced that it's Kryptonian. It's been revealed to be Mon-El. We did a whole episode all about Mon-El. We were talking about it. And for those who don't remember, go back and find the episode because we're trying to keep this short and tight. But the thing is, based on what they say a lot and the way they do amalgam-esque characters, I'm wondering if Mon-El might be a hybrid character of like Mon-El and Ha-El.
Okay, who's Ha-El?
Now, Ha-El...
For those of us who do not know, which would be me, guys.
I gotta pull the book out because it's really cool, but basically he was mentored and thought as like a son by Jor-El. He was an explorer. He ended up on Earth, but he's really powerful, but he was like scarred. And he basically talked Supergirl into time traveling back to stopping Krypton from being destroyed, but in the process it would destroy Earth. And he kills Superboy almost, because it's the different Superboy in the New 52. But anyways, it would be kind of neat, maybe. You know, like I said before, I'm tired of other Kryptonians being bad all the time.
Right.
Unless they establish Krypton as a place that was becoming corrupt, to where Jor-El feared for being alive because he wasn't following the status.
Right.
Almost like if you could think about that Krypton had become Nazis, and he was fleeing, if we want to get more allegorical. So that's why that Clark and Kara are who they are.
Yeah.
Compared to every other Kryptonian that we meet. So that's just me thinking right now.
Let's skip ahead a little bit here and talk about, Superman.
Oh, I'm trying to hold back the excitement. I'm trying to get rid of all the stuff I don't want to talk about first. Now, did you think it was interesting how they played the Kara-Jimmy relationship? How they're trying to go on their first date, and then by the end of the episode, it's like, we're not going to date? Like, I don't want you anymore, Jimmy?
It was kind of odd, to be honest with you. I felt like that was something that they shoved in there, and I felt like it could have probably taken longer.
Like, it needed to breathe for an episode or two.
Yeah, you needed to have more time to think on it, and there needed to be more of, her struggling about her job and her title and everything like that was so important in this episode. So there needed to be time for her to be able to struggle with the decision-making with Jimmy, because how important has Jimmy been to her this entire time? And then out of nowhere, it's like, oh, wait, I don't want to be with you now? That's not how it should have gone in my mind.
I would have liked to have seen them wrestle with the idea of... I don't know if you've ever had that experience, dear listeners, where you like somebody who's a friend, and you're kind of nervous to take that step. And then when you do, you realize you're attracted to them, but there's something not there. And you just rather be friends. And I would have liked to have seen that kind of play out a little bit more with them, where they're trying and they're trying to work it, and it's just not catching on.
Yep.
Compared to how we ended up with just like in one episode. Basically within 24 to 48 hours. They're like, nope.
Yeah, it takes longer than that.
And let's see. Anyone else going to get at this vibe? Maybe Wynn and Alex kind of romancing each other? Just saying. Am I the only one?
I guess so. Because, for me, I kind of liked the dynamic of Maxwell Lord and Alex,
that was great, but Max probably isn't coming. And
yeah.
I would like to see one series where
the good guy, the nice, nerdy guy.
Yeah, that. But the hero has a healthy and balanced relationship.
Right.
We get a hint from another character who guest stars on this episode that person has a healthy, balanced relationship with their significant other.
About Superman.
So, and I guess, do you think we'll ever see Lucy again? You think she might pop up?
I'm sure she will.
And do you think we'll get to meet Lois?
That's an interesting one. I feel like we've met Superman, so like Lois would kind of be like, it would make sense to meet her. It's almost like,
because we've met Lucy.
Why wouldn't we meet her?
We've met Lucy. We've met General Sam Lane.
Just please cast her correctly. That's all I ask. CW, please cast her.
Who would you cast?
Oh my gosh.
That's the problem. We've talked about this before, but one person that we both said should have, could have, wish it would have had been Lois Lane in the DCEU was Haley Atwell.
Yeah.
I know she's got her new series, so I doubt that. But hey, All things are possible on Krypton. Now, to the big news. Superman was in this episode. Holy crap. Okay, wow. I mean...
Not that we haven't been talking about that.
From the moment he shows up and he's doing that little speech as Clark, you feel Clark. Like, just the awkwardness when he's like, lickety-split, sir. And he's like, I know people don't say lickety-split, but he just has the vibrance, the life, the draw of Superman.
I have to tell you, from the first point that we found out that Tyler Hoechlin,
we're going to go with
Hoechlin, okay? From the first point that we found out that he was going to be Superman, I was like, can he really do it? You know, I was super skeptical. But yeah, as soon as he gets on the screen and he starts talking like Clark Kent should be talking. And he has really harsh features, okay? Which is part of the problem that I had in my mind, you know? Like, I'm like, his features are just too rough. Superman's got more of this, boy next door, obviously extremely better looking than average boy next doors, but you know what I mean? Like, it's this sweet face, and it's like, he doesn't look hard at any point in time. But Tyler definitely has like this angrier looking face, but he's so good. He's so good because he's able to soften his features enough to become Clark Kent. And it totally blew me out of the water because I've seen him in Teen Wolf and I've seen him in, what was that other show? I'm totally blanking right now. Okay, I saw him in something else too. And and both of those times that I've seen him act, he's just been a really rough looking guy. And obviously those the Teen Wolf character definitely called for it, So it was just such a refreshing thing to be able to see the dynamic, that he was able to bring in as Clark Kent and as Superman. It's great.
It was the best Superman Clark Kent combo since Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
I mean, just pulling off the duality characters, giving a strong performance on both fronts.
Because to be fair, we haven't really seen that in the movie universe, the cinematic universe as of yet. And
we'll get there. We got a little bit to talk about.
Yeah, that's true. That's another podcast.
Seeing the suit in action, I really like the blue in his suit, the what it looks like, the way it moves. The belt, I think, is a little puffy and unnecessary.
Yeah.
I still think the boots are a little clunky.
I like the cape.
I don't like the cape.
Really, I do. I like where it comes off his shoulders, and yeah, I like the cape.
But I like his symbol and the way it's done. But I do really like I said, I do really like the blue in his suit. But
it's a good blue.
How great was you see him fly, him and Kara together. Then when they land, and just the way he's like, she says, I usually say hi. He goes, me too. He just has that I'm happy, I'm hopeful feel that you want from Superman.
Now, if I'm not correct, this is the first time live action, right, that we've seen Superman and Supergirl together.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean...
So it's a pretty historic moment, really, if you think about it, for the characters together.
It is. I mean, we've seen, Clark with his cousin on Smallville, but neither were really Superman or Supergirl.
Correct.
And Christopher Reeve was supposed to appear in Supergirl the movie, but I can't remember exactly why he was unable to. But there's that callback of him with the poster in Lucy's room.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the first time we see them in action together.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I mean,
it really is.
That scene where he flies into the DEO and lands, and just how everyone just turns and has this awe factor.
But it's amazing because he automatically has that humble spirit, where he's just like, hey guys, Yeah,
he starts shaking hands and being nice and friendly. I mean,
thanks for doing the work you're doing with our country,
And I love when he meets the family on bikes.
he's the total package, honestly. I'm blown away by the writing of this character. Because I was concerned about it, to be honest, so.
I love when he does the rescue scene where he flew down and put his hands around and got shot by the bullets, and the family stands up and he does like a wink and flies off.
Yes.
And I know
my favorite line in the whole entire thing.
Which was what, Jania?
We're moving back to Gotham.
We're moving back to Gotham.
Was he Batman?
Yeah. Who would want to move back to Gotham? You got out.
Have you seen the TV show?
Yeah.
What was it? It's a mad city.
Yeah, right now it's a mad city. Murdered. But oh my gosh, I think it was interesting that it was him and John have a kind of like a beef because they found kryptonite together, the first meteorite that ever fell, and John kept it, and Superman wanted to destroy it.
Mm-hmm. And he refuses to work with John because of that. John Jones.
That's his real name. And then on Earth it's John Jones. That sounds like Americanized. His name is John. What are we going to call him? John. Okay.
Okay.
Sounds a little plain. It's okay.
Here's my thing about that whole situation, and I said this to you. You know, basically, it kind of bugs me that Superman's like, you know, I don't want to work with you because you have kryptonite. When, in fact, you know, that's the one thing that can kill him. I get it. It's rare. Whatever. Right? But people, humans, you know, we work in the military and we work in the DEO in this universe, you know. But, you know, we're not offended by working around weapons and things that can kill us automatically or, you know, aliens that can kill us automatically. You know, so I kind of think it's a little bit of a double standard.
And what I thought about was it comes from a point of fear,
right,
for Superman, because it's the one thing that can kill him and his cousin. And like being in a point where nothing harms you and can hurt you, to all of a sudden there's that one thing. I think it's a sense of fear, and you have to trust. Because the thing is, I mean, if someone's holding a gun, it's not being used, it doesn't hurt you. But if someone's holding a piece of kryptonite even near you, you're getting sick and weak and defenseless. And for someone who's grown up never having to worry and having to be, you know, defenseless, it's a huge, huge deal. Now,
you know, I didn't say it was a strong point. I just said it was a point.
No, it's a great point. I like the callbacks to, like, they tell us, like, this is already an established Superman. So we don't have to have an origin. We don't have to have him figuring out who he is. He's already Superman.
Yeah, he totally knows who he is.
I mean, and I like when Wynn calls back and says, when you stop the earthquake that Lex caused, you know, that's kind of a reference to Superman the movie. I mean, it doesn't mean it's canonical, but it just means, oh, that's cool. You know, that's a good throwback. So
I loved the little lines here too with him and Kara. Like he said up, and she says and away. You know.
I liked when they were in the elevator and he knocked over the papers and she's like, "You really got this clumsy thing down." He's like, "That actually wasn't an accident." Like, and it makes the dynamic of who he is as Clark more powerful. I mean,
yeah. I like it because to me, Clark Kent isn't his mask. You know, I think that he really is Clark Kent. I think that he really is Superman. I think that they blend into one another. You know, whereas with Batman, for instance, you know, Bruce Wayne is the mask and Batman is who the man truly is. You know, that's not the situation for Clark, you know, because he definitely has all of these different personas, you know. He's Kal-El, he's Clark Kent, he's Superman, but he is still the same person in every single aspect.
And that, I think this character version is, I mean, it always comes down to, I think, seeing who Superman is interacting with. Because, okay, you know, Christopher, his portrayal was the most diverse in the fact that we saw this man that was Superman, and we saw his Clark, which was so much of the opposite. We saw two distinctive characterizations of two people.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, it's been more of a blended, where there is the Clark Kent persona, but then there is also Superman. And then there's also been the portrayal of Clark Kent, the reporter, is on one side of the pendulum of a portrayal, and then Superman is on the other side, and the real person's in the middle.
Right, which is totally what I feel like we're getting from the cinematic universe right now. So, or that they're trying to convey in the cinematic universe. I should say.
I agree, and we'll get there.
Yes, another podcast.
And so the other thing is, it's hilarious how Kat has the hots for Clark.
Yes, it's great though because it's like a callback a little bit to wasn't it like that in Lois and Clark, the TV show? Yeah, like she had a crush on Clark. And
in the really poorly recepted Superman 4, there's a character who actually has a thing for Clark, and I think it's an interesting dynamic when someone's actually attracted to Clark.
Not Superman, yeah.
And it's always like Lois and Clark, I think, did it the best, where there's that relationship. She likes Clark, she likes Superman, she likes them both, and then realizes they're the same. Yeah. So it's like, jackpot. And every other version, it's not really had that blending as well. There's not... in Smallville, Lois never got to physically see the Blur. I hate that name. So she had an admiration for someone that she'd never met, and she knew Clark. With Christopher Reeves, they were two completely different, and then he did the whole I tell Lois mind wipe thing. So that's gone. Don't even want to talk about Superman Returns version.
Yeah.
So, nope. And then in Man of Steel, she just meets Clark first, but Clark is Superman. She knows it, one and the same. There's never the distinctive difference.
Right.
So pulling us back around here, how would you rate this episode? If you had to give this episode a rating of, what are we going to do this year? Do we want to give it letter grades? Do we want to give it stars? How do we want to do it?
Why don't we do stars? Why not?
Are we doing it out of 4 or out of 5?
5.
Okay.
So, I'll start with what I thought about the episode here. Kind of just sum it up. So, I felt like it started really strong. Really great episode. I love that right in the beginning we're like, boom, we get the Mon-El thing. And then, boom, Superman comes in and he's helping Kara. And then it kind of gets a little muddled for me when we have the Jimmy Olsen
Kara subplot.
Yeah. It's honestly, it's too much for the very first episode of the season.
Oh, we almost forgot something.
What?
The person who tried to assassinate Lena Luthor was John Corbin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And at the end, we found out he's been taken after he was shot to Cadmus Labs, where he gets rechristened Metallo. Which is awesome, because Metallo is a very prominent villain in Superman's mythos. Yeah. But I just think it was kind of funny that the Doctor called him Metallo. I was always I liked in the comics when it was Metal Zero. It was like a program title.
Yeah.
And then someone said it as Metallo, just kind of making a name out of Metal Zero.
Yeah, I get it, yeah.
Instead of her just being, well, like, she didn't even say code name Metallo. She just like, John Corbin dies. Welcome, Metallo.
Yeah, a little cheesy.
But whatever, I'll let it slide. I don't care. And I agree with you. I agree with you totally about it got muddled with the we discussed that the Kara subplot with Jimmy needed to breathe more.
It did.
At least 3 episodes, I think.
It did. And I really, really feel like there was just a lot in this episode. A lot, okay? So we have Superman comes in, we have Mon-El in the beginning, we have Winn becoming a part of the DEO. We have Kara trying to figure out who the heck she is, you know? And then we have her relationship with Jimmy Olsen. Then we have Metallo coming in, John Corbin trying to kill. Oh, and then we have Lena Luthor. You know, Lena Luthor's being attacked by, you know, some...
We get bombarded with new characters. I mean,
yeah,
even the new setting, Kat... We get Kat, who's kind of that comfortable, but at the same thing, we get that sense that something's not right in Cat Town.
Yeah.
So it just feels like the plot. This episode to me should have been more of a hit and miss for Jimmy and Kara. Like it should have been little things about we can meet up now. Oh, I'm sorry we missed it. We can meet up. I'm sorry we missed it, and then
continue that in the next episode. Make it a little bit more dynamic and more intense. You know, and then, it snowballs. It builds up.
Episode 3 is kind of like Kara. We need to talk. Like,
right.
This obviously something's changed. Something's different.
Yeah. So for me, there was a lot going on. Definitely. And I think that even with a lot going on, the pacing was still done very well.
Yes, it was.
So one negative comment, one positive comment there. So I guess in my opinion, it would probably be a 4 because I could probably rate it a little bit lower, but Tyler did such a fantastic job. Not you, honey. The other Tyler.
Damn. I get used to that.
Tyler Hoechlin did such a fantastic job as Clark Kent. I can't talk. Clark Kent and Superman. That I have to give it a better rating. I think it's a 4.
See, and I'm gonna go 4.5.
Ooh.
Because I think if there wasn't that muddle with Jimmy and just the trying to throw a lot at us really quick, that it could have been a 5.
Yeah.
And I mean, everyone brought their A game. I loved the comment Wynn made. We forgot to mention this when he is like has all the questions for Superman, and he's like, "You're supposed to be 12 years older than her. You don't look it." And he's like, "Kryptonians age differently on Earth." Boom. Perfectly sums up why he's younger looking than what we think he should be.
Right.
I buy it. Works for me.
Yep.
I'm totally going with it.
And of course, I think Melissa Benoist.
Yep, we heard her say it. That's a good thing that we like about the CW is when the actors say, "Hey, this is Grant Gustin. Tune in for an all-new Flash." Or, "Hey, this is Stephen Amell. Hey, this is Jared Padalecki. Hey, this is Melissa Benoist." Boom. We can now
we know how to say it
properly.
Yes. Yep. So she obviously did another fantastic job. Oh, and I do have to say one thing. I forgot to say this earlier, so I'm going to bring it up right now, awkwardly. In the scene with Lena Luthor being attacked by Metallo there kind of towards the end, and the building, L Corp, is falling down, Alex totally gets her moment to shine right there. And once again, I think she does a great job. I'm really pleased with her character. She's not an annoying character. She doesn't get in the way, and she holds her own, She can sit there and fight John Corbin, while Supergirl and Superman are trying to fix the building, and she completely is cool with that. She doesn't need their help.
Alex is a great character.
She's a good
and I'm really liking where they develop. I even like that they make the drop. Superman says to her, Kara told me that Jeremiah might still be alive. If there's anything I can do, let me know. Okay. If it's possible, they're filming in Canada. Can I just get a behind-the-scenes photo of Dean Cain sitting with Tyler Hoechlin and Brandon Routh just happens to drop by? Just get them 3 together in a photo.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, if we get that on screen, awesome. But just the behind the scenes, I would be happy. That's 3 Supermen. Yep. Superman?
Yeah, I don't know.
But that sums up the episode. I think we have it covered. Now we're going to do something...
What was your rating? You said 4.5?
I said 4.5.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all good. In the hood. In the fortress.
In the fortress, yes.
We're going to do something a little different on the show. We are going to try to do this segment at the end after we talk about this of news. what's been discussed, what's coming up, and there's a big one, and it's kind of controversial. Jania, you watched Young Justice. Do you remember the character of Guardian? He had a shield. When we first meet him, he's at Cadmus Labs. He's being controlled, and then later we get an African American in the second season who's the new Guardian.
I'm totally blanking on this character. Yeah.
He's got the big shield. He's blue and gold. He has a gold helmet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, he's the character that a lot of people thought Diggle was going to be when he got his mask and outfit and became Spartan.
Yeah, word.
Well, have you seen who the Guardian is?
No.
So Guardian is coming to Supergirl.
Sweet.
We'll see in a second.
Okay.
How you react.
Okay.
Let me show you the picture of Guardian that they released. I have it saved here on my mobile.
Interesting costume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nothing like I'm used to seeing. Who's the actor?
Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
They're going to make Jimmy Olsen Guardian.
Oh, yeah. Not sure how I feel about that, to be honest.
Exactly.
Because to me, Jimmy Olsen is Jimmy Olsen. Don't screw around with a character that's already solid and good. He doesn't need to be a superhero.
He doesn't need to be a second character. He's already Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, he's Jimmy Olsen.
It would have made sense for Diggle to be Guardian.
Totally, because Diggle wasn't a founded character before Arrow started, So you could have basically made that character anything you wanted.
I totally agree. Now,
But Jimmy's way too iconic. Way too iconic to be something like that, in my opinion, personally.
Exactly. And I would like to read a couple quotes that we have here from some of our listeners and fans from our Facebook. Ira Schwartz, when asked about the episode, says, "Another fantastic episode. Season 2 is going to be awesome."
Agreed.
Jessica Stover said, "I liked it. I'm really excited to see Metallo was introduced." And then I got a quote from our good man, Mr. Phil Parrish.
Yeah, Phil.
Phil said, "I really liked it. Henry Cavill isn't Superman. That was Superman. Closer that they've gotten to Christopher Reeve."
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that.
So that's some reactions that we have from our listeners.
I do love Henry, I have to say, Phil, but yeah, I agree with you. He's not that iconic Superman that we really need. I think Tyler does a great job. Once again, I think he does a great job.
And once again, she's not talking about me.
You do a great job, too.
Oh, thanks, babe.
You're welcome.
So, I think that wraps up this episode right here. If you have any thoughts, any comments you'd like to share with us about Supergirl, the episode, and just, super anything, period.
Anything you'd like to hear, even,
Yeah, us discuss. We're always up for, we're going to do a special episode coming up. We're going to talk about the anniversary of Smallville, and then we're going to discuss more. We kept hinting at some things that we've discussed, and we've kind of pulled together about the representation that we got from the DCEU of Superman, and how they're really downplaying Cavill as an actor as well. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about that in an upcoming episode.
Yeah.
So, from myself, here from the Fortress, just want to remind you to look up in the sky.